Welcome to some post-rotation testing. We're looking at decks Scarlet and Violet onwards. In this one, we've got Regieleki VMAX with Miraidon, and we've got Gardevoir EX. If you want either of the deck lists, I will put them in the comments below. I'll put them in the description so you can have a look. Basically, Regieleki is paired up with Miraidon. Miraidon's tandem unit gets Regielekis into play very easily. VMAXs allow basic electric Pokemon to do extra damage with stuff like Electric Generator. You can accelerate energy to your bench and get things moving quickly. Against Lost Zone, you have Switching Bolt with Regieleki V. Using the VMAXs, you can take one-hit knockouts on comp phase and switch into Klefkis to trap them in ability lock. I think it's a very exciting deck going forward. It's one that I'm going to be playing quite a lot. So in this video, we're just testing it out. This is the first time we're using these cards. I will say there is a mistake twice with Electric Generator and attaching to the active instead of the bench. At both those points I've mentioned in the video, we could have done it different ways, so it still worked out the same. So thankfully it didn't affect the game, but I did want to point those out to anyone watching. And then we've got Big Gardevoir EX paired with Little Gardevoir with Shining Arcana, which lets you draw cards and attach energy. Gardevoir EX attaches energy from the discard, so you make these Pokemon with tons of energy, taking huge knockouts. It's going to be an exciting match. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win. Also, in the comments below, drop any decks you want to see heading into rotation, and we will play those. We'll get some of those matches up on the channel for you. But let's get into this one. Jumping straight into this one, and it does look like it's a start on the side of Miraidon. If you're not sure, that tandem ability is going to let them search out two basic lightning Pokemon and put them onto their bench and then shuffle their deck. Their turn doesn't end like the Miraidon, which I think is a slightly weaker version. There's a bit more support for electric coming from this set, so it seems to be quite a powerful deck going into this one. Obviously, you've got a few other options with stuff like Klefki. As we mentioned before, that Switching Bolt, being able to use an attack and the ability in the same turn is really powerful. In this matchup though, there's no basic Pokemon really to shut down, so we're going straight for the Regieleki VMAX strategy, getting as many Regieleki Vs into play early on and attacking with our Miraidon, our Raichu, all of those attackers just for big numbers to knock out those Gardevoir EXs, potentially a Zacian or just the regular Gardevoirs. This should be quite an interesting matchup. I think it's going to come down to if the Gardevoir player can get set up early. So it is going to be those four on the bench and the pass. And we're going to see what the Gardevoir player can do here. It's just the lone Rolts in play at the moment. They really do need some more Pokemon in play, or it could be Goodnight Vienna. That's 4 cards in hand, just asking there. So I guess we're going to see a Marnie, maybe more likely a Judge now, as this, I'm going to have to get used to that. More likely a Judge. Okay, so it's actually not a Judge. It's going to be the Professor's Research to throw away some goodies there. I think I saw a Curlier. We got the Gardevoir EX. There's only 2 of those in deck, so that is it's a painful throwaway, but there is some recovery. I think there's a Clara. We see the Battle VIP pass here played down. Obviously going to search out some more Rolts, potentially a Radiant Greninja to draw some more cards, depending if they have energy. There's a few options here. Radiant Greninja works really well with this deck, just discarding those energies for Gardevoir EX to use later on. So just having a look through, see what's in the prizes. Could be the Zacian as well if there's not much else ready this turn. It's a good way to get energy in when you're not going to be attacking. It can be quite slow to start with Gardevoir, obviously needing to get into that stage 2 before you can really do much of anything. That's the regular version and the EX, so it'll be interesting to see what they go for here. And it is going to be the Zacian. Maybe Greninja. There is an energy in hand. Okay, so we do see a level wall here. Probably another Rolts. Just as many in play as possible in case any knockouts occur. You've got to imagine going back into the electric player's turn here. There's going to be a big knockout. You want to have as many options on the bench as possible. Doesn't look like there's... Okay, so there is a Fog Crystal as well, so that could be used to get another Rolts, or it could get an energy. The Fog Crystal is going to go down here. And we're going to see most likely the last Rolts from the deck. Like I say, you want to set up as quickly as possible. So grabbing all these probably makes sense. I think I would like to see Greninja here though. Maybe it's possible it's in hand. We'll have to see what's played down here. Just searching through deck, just double checking those prizes. And it is going to be the last rolls to hit the bench. It's going to be the Zacian ability and attach. It can go anywhere, so there's a few options here. Just powering up a second Rolts kind of makes sense. Obviously, the active is more than likely going to be knocked out here. Back over to the Regieleki here, and it's where the energy goes. Like I say, you could potentially set up a switching bolt, but energy's already gone onto the Miraidon, so I think that makes the most sense. We're going to see a Professor's Research here to draw some more cards. Throwing some stuff away, but I don't think we need Klefki in this matchup, so... Although it would have potentially stopped the Zacian there. Quite a few, I think is that 2 or 3 Ultra Balls in hand? So we're going to burn through them and grab some of those Regielekis. Not entirely needed at the moment, but later on in the match when that big Gardevoir EX comes out, you are going to need quite a few of those in play. Basically, their ability gives you 30 extra damage if you're a basic Pokemon, or a basic Lightning Pokemon, I should say. So stuff like Miraidon, the Raichu, the Raikou, the attackers in this deck basically are going to get that bonus as well. Like we also mentioned, the strategy of using the Switching Bolt. So when you use Regieleki V, you can get 2 or 3 Regieleki V Maxes along with it, and it can be hitting for 90, 120. So it's good into those matchups against like Lost Zone, when you can then knock out a Comfy, switch onto the bench, and then put a Klefki in the active. And it is going to be an Electro Generator here, so really powerful card coming out of Scarlet and Violet. Look at the top 5 cards. Attach up to 2 energy you find there. Just the one off this, but that's enough to get Miraidon EX online. So we're going to see a big knockout here. Although the Gardevoir player is very well set up, so this could very quickly swing back in their favour. I do think once Gardevoir's set up, it's an absolute monster of a deck, very hard to deal with. So we'll see what happens here. Just taking a look, that's the first prize down. We're going to see what they decide to put active here. I think the one of energy makes the most sense. Gives you a retreat option if you need it. We do see a rare candy in hand. I think it must be. We're going to see the rare candy. So it is into the Gardevoir, the regular one, with Shining Arcana, which is going to look at the top 2 cards and attach some energy they find there. Or just get extra cards, which is always good. That's 2 energy on there. We're going to see the ability used here. And I don't know if they hit an energy there. Okay, so there is the 1 energy. And that's going to go down onto Gardevoir, ready to attack now. As it's only a 1 prizer, you can afford to put a couple of these up. And like I say, reuse them with stuff like Clara and Miriam. And we could potentially see... So we are going to see Judge here. So they're going to dig a little deeper, maybe find the Gardevoir EX. If they can get that going, get a ton of energy onto the Gardevoir, it's going to be an easy knockout into the Miraidon. And then the Regieleki player doesn't really have a lot going for them here. They've not really got any energy anywhere else. They've just been judged, so you don't know what they're going to have in their hand. It's going to be a small hand at that. It doesn't look like much. I think that was a VMAX, maybe an Ultra Ball. Can't see what those other 2 cards are. And we're just adding up damage here, I think. So it's 60 base and then 30 for each energy. So that's going to be a 150 knock into Miraidon. And it doesn't look like much off the top deck there. There is an energy in hand. I think that is a judge as well, so they can potentially see some more cards here. We're going to see an Ultra Ball first. Potentially searching out Raichu. Or okay, so Greninja as well in this deck makes a lot of sense. Draw some cards. The board state, like I've already mentioned, in this deck is very different depending on what you're playing. So I think Greninja in this matchup is fine. We're going to see another Electro Generator here. Looks like it's missed all the energy this time though. Okay, so there is one. We're going to see that popped onto Raikou on the bench. And then shuffle up at the deck. I've got to imagine we're going to see a judge here. Potentially, don't know what else is in hand. Or if there is anything else in hand, it looks like it's just judge. There's going to be a judge for 4. And most importantly, the Gardevoir player is now going to have to shuffle that hand they just drew. Because of the amount of draw on Gardevoir's side, it really doesn't hurt them as much as other matchups. Obviously, they've got the Curlier, which can draw 2. They've got the Gardevoir, which draws 2. We're going to see a Hisuian Heavy Ball. Doesn't look like there's any Pokemon that side. And they're going to go back down as prizes. 1-0 up at the moment. But I can see this swinging very quickly. We're going to have to see a retreat from the Miraidon. I don't see Beach Court in hand. Oh, no, I tell a lie. Beach Court is going to go down, making it one less to retreat for basic. That Miraidon is going to retreat for 3 here. Straight into Raikou. Obviously, Miraidon can't attack, so there's not many choices here. But maybe we should have put that energy onto the Regieleki. I guess we get the extra card from Raikou, so there's a chance we find a way out here. But it does look like Gardevoir is going to get to swing free again into another Pokemon. It is just a pass. We do see the emergency jelly drawn on the Gardevoir side. This could spell... yeah, this is where the match could swing here. Having a almost knockout on the Miraidon and maybe even knocking out a Raikou here. So there is the Greninja. That's why we didn't see it the first turn from the Gardevoir player. We're going to see that now from the level ball. And we're going to see some energy discarded. Lots and lots of draw. Not just from the Gardevoir, but from the Greninja as well. Then we've got 2 chances at Curlier. This deck is very consistent. It's very draw heavy. It finds the cards it needs. The only problem is setting up. So once you get to that stage, I think it can deal with a lot of decks. Other than those designed to beat it with stuff like Darkness and tricks like that. So we are going to see a Clara here. That's going to grab out the Gardevoir EX. Potentially, and an energy, which I think is fine. We're going to see the attachment for turn here. And we're going to see the Curlier as well, which was discarded on the first turn. So this is going to be a huge swing. Able to draw 6 new cards on the side of Gardevoir via Radiant Greninja, the Curlier we've just seen, and obviously Gardevoir itself. Also Gardevoir EX in hand. That's going to be an energy straight back to the discard pile. I'm trying to see what we've got in hand here. The emergency jelly does mean you can attach a ton of energy onto the Gardevoir and it's going to be safe. We're going to see Curlier come down here. Like I say, we can see some more cards drawn here. And it is going to be the Manaphy thrown to the discard pile. And can Gardevoir reach the amount needed for Raikou? We're going to see an attachment for turn. We've also got Shining Arcana to use still. So this is going to be very interesting. That's 4. It's slightly off knockout here. So we are going to need to see more energy. I don't know if we've got any in the discard. So we could see the Gardevoir EX come down potentially. So the jelly's gone on to Gardevoir. And here comes the ability. This is huge. But it doesn't look like there's any energy here. Which, if they could take the knockout here, would be a huge swing and probably just turn the match, honestly. Just having a quick look. So there is an energy in the discard pile. But if we could see the EX come down, we would see a knockout for turn. But it doesn't look like we're going to get it. It's going to be 180 damage onto the Raikou. Not enough for knockout. And we do see the Raikou finally powered up. We're going to see a draw. But I don't think there's much else to play here. I would assume Raikou just swings in for knockout. It's going to be knocked out anyway, so get some of the energy out of play. Maybe make the Gardevoir player need to find something here. I don't really see a better play. It's not a good play, because obviously Raikou is going to go down very easily, as will Miraidon. Miraidon's slightly more tanky, as the Raikou has taken more damage. So that makes a lot of sense to me. We are going to see the boss into the Zacian and 2 prizes taken here. I don't know if the knockout into Gardevoir maybe made more sense there. Get the energy out of play. But then I guess EX just brings it back in. So yeah, it's a difficult decision there. I think 2 prizes maybe makes sense. I still don't think the Gardevoir player is out of this one though. I know it's 6 prizes to 3. But there is a lot of damage on the side of the electric player. And we do see Gardevoir EX go into play. Okay, so we are going to see Curlier's ability here. Draw 2 from the Battle VIP pass. And we know the Gardevoir EX is in hand. So we're going to see that come down. And more energy. Although Gardevoir doesn't really need more energy at the moment. So I guess it would go onto the benched Ralts in anticipation for the evolve. Gardevoir EX itself isn't terrible. 190 is going to take a knockout into, well, either of the damaged Pokemon quite easily. The attachment is going to go onto the bench Curlier. I think setting up another Gardevoir at this point, because you've got 2 easy knockouts on board, makes a lot of sense. Potentially, if we saw a boss, you could see a ton of energy dumped onto Gardevoir. We are going to see Worker here to get rid of the Beach Court. Not a ton of stadiums you really need in the side of Gardevoir, so I think Worker is actually okay in this deck. I don't think it's a terrible card, honestly. In those decks where you don't really want stadiums, but you want to mess with your opponents on turns, I think it makes sense. Maybe something like a Temple of Sinnoh would be slightly better, as there are special energy decks out there like Lugia. I'm trying to think of some others. Not that many, I guess. Arceus. There's a few where it could see some use. I don't know. Like I say, this is a very early stage Gardevoir, so there's still a lot to test here. I like how it's playing so far. Yeah, like I say, there is definitely... So the Ultra Ball is going to go to the discard here by Kirlia, and we're going to see some more cards. Like I say, the draw power on this deck is so powerful. So we are seeing Gardevoir's ability here. And again, no energy, so they're going to go into the hand. The deck is looking awfully thin, though, after saying that. There is not many cards left. They're yet to take any prizes. So this could be interesting. And it is just going to be a swing from Gardevoir. And now it's not really that big of a difference. That is 4 prizes to 3. There's a ton of damage on Raikou, so that's going to be a very easy knockout. Even if Raikou knocks out the Gardevoir here, the return knockout is going to mean the game is tied. This is what I mean. The fact that they use single prizes, they don't really need the EX Pokemon to attack with. Just, it makes such a difference. It makes those trades with V Pokemon a lot kinder to the Gardevoir deck. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Once Gardevoir is set up, it can be very difficult to deal with. We are going to see another judge. Both players shuffle in and draw 4. There's just so much draws on the side of the Gardevoir player. I don't think it's probably not worth it at that point, especially with how few cards they had left. But maybe we need some cards on the electric side here. Not really much set up. More energy, but we're going to see a draw from the Raikou. I think that's another Electro Generator. We're going to see attached to Raichu an Electro Generator. So if we do get some energy here, we could see Raichu attack and keep that Raikou safe. And there is the energy. We're going to go into Raichu. And potentially, I would assume, discard the energy from Raikou. Hopefully not bringing it up again. And kind of protect it on the bench. We could also just see the Raikou take a knockout here. And that's what we're going to see. I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe just retreating, and I guess we lost Stadium, but I don't know. I think retreating there might have been the best option, although maybe Raichu couldn't get quite enough energy in play then. So we're going to see Kirlia discard here and draw 2. The Ultra Ball is going to go. We did see the Gardevoir in hand, so there is going to be an attack this turn for sure. We're going to see Gardevoir's ability here, draw 2. And attach an energy. And then I assume, okay, there's the jelly. We're going to see, I don't know, if there's a boss, we could see a play here onto maybe the Raichu on the bench, leaving electric with pretty much nothing to do next turn. Attack with Raikou maybe, but then it's an easy knockout, an easy win for Gardevoir. Only 2 prizes left, but that big Gardevoir EX on the bench looks fairly safe right now. There's a ton of HP to have to deal with. Raikou's not doing enough. Raichu could definitely take the knockout. It is 60 for each electric you discard. Then we've got another 60 from the Regieleki VMAXs at the moment. So it soon adds up. I mean, that's 300 damage on board. We would need to see more energy. And we are going to lose 2 this turn. So I just don't think I see it. I think this might be going in favor of Gardevoir here. And this is what I mean. It's a slower format. It's more, I would say, more calculated. More small moments where games can change. But we get to see both decks to their fullest. And we're going to see a ton of energy attached to Gardevoir here. Pretty much saying, I knock out Raikou. I can knock out any of your other Pokemon. It's over to you. So it does look like a change of heart. We're just going to see the 1, which I think makes sense. I don't need a ton of energy to knock out this Raikou. And then we're going to see what happens afterwards. I think we can see a knockout into the Gardevoir. But then it's Gardevoir EX. Don't know if we can see a return on the side of electric. Okay, so we do see Serena in hand, which does mean it's potentially, it is just a boss here. We are going to see Serena bring up the Raichu, meaning there's no attacker, there's no energy in play for the electric player. They can't put Raikou up. So now we're probably going to see a few more energy attached from the discard here. Just enough to get a knockout. So currently we're doing 150, so we need 2 more energy. 1, 2, and it is going to be a knockout into the Raichu here. The only saving grace electric had at this point, I think it's The match is tied now. It was 6-3 at one point. This is what I mean. It's so swingy. It can go back and forth. And Gardevoir is definitely the better of the trades here. We're going to see an energy attached somewhere. I don't see any way out of this. We would need to see an electro generator onto the Regieleki. But even then, it's not going to be enough to knock out. Yeah, we're going to... So the energy is going to be thrown away via Radiant Greninja. We're going to see a Beach Court there. Draw off Raikou as well. I think that is a Miraidon, so we could potentially see that set up here. Like I say, we would... I just don't see a way out for the electric player here. Even if Gardevoir in the active is knocked out, Gardevoir EX on the bench is going to set itself up and wreak havoc. Both players here just searching for an out. I think I do see a boss. I guess potentially you could knock out the Greninja next turn with the boss. So there is actually an out there if that was a boss. There's a lot of movement of cards. Very hard to see what's in hand. I'm sure it is a boss in hand. We are going to see the knockout into the Gardevoir. But at that point, I think he's pretty much accepted his fate there. Gardevoir EX is just going to attach from the discard and from hand. And that is going to be it. That's going to be 2 prizes from the Raikou. Just no other attackers set up. Didn't really hit the speed that you would expect with this deck with the Miraidon and the Electro Generators. And Gardevoir, once it's set up, is an absolute monster to deal with. We are going to see the ability used here, 2 attached. And it is going to be a knockout onto Raikou. And that is game 1. Go into the Gardevoir player. We are going to head into game 2 and hopefully see a better showing from the electric player and send this into a game 3. A slightly different start here for the electric player. We've got that mischievous lock Klefki, which is going to turn off the abilities of basic Pokemon. Like I say, in this matchup, not the best start in Pokemon, not the best strategy to go with. Okay, so it is just going to be because of the ability turning off Miraidon. We're going to see a retreat. And then the Miraidon searching out those Regielekis. Just sequencing it properly so we're not breaking any rules here. The attachment going onto the Regieleki here, and it is going to be over to Gardevoir to see what they can do this turn. They're going to need a lot to go down onto the bench. Again, same as last time, they want a ton of Roltzers, they want their Greninjas. Oh, so we are going to see a level ball and a VIP pass played here. That's going to be everything they need. I'd expect maybe 2 Roltzers and Greninja if it's not priced again, obviously. And that is what we're going to see here. Plenty of draw chances for the Gardevoir player. Plenty set up this turn, so even if a Roltz is knocked out, we are going to see other options to evolve up into their Gardevoirs. We don't see an energy in... There could be an energy in hand here. We're going to need to take another look. It's just going to be a shuffle up from the search here. I would have potentially liked to see... I guess the Klefki had to retreat so the Miraidon could use its ability. But now the Radiant Greninja is going to be unaffected, so we are going to see some draw off that. So we're going to see if it has any impact. There is a few energy in hand here. So that is going to be Greninja. And I think that is Curlier and maybe an Ultra Ball. So that is quite a powerful draw. We're going to see an energy attached to the Roltz in the active. And maybe just a teleportation blast, is it? Basically, they attack and they get to teleport to the bench. 10 damage is nothing to scoff at here. And it's just going to fly back to the bench and put another Roltz up in the firing line. So we are going to see a card drawn here. Attachment going down straight away onto Miraidon here. Having some idea what they want to do. We're going to see a research. Draw 7 new cards. And hopefully some more energy via Electro Generator. And I do think I see one in hand. We're going to see Miraidon searching out some more Pokemon here. Potentially more Regielekis, at least one. And then maybe a Raikou. Okay, so we're going to see nothing. So we are potentially going to see a Radiant Greninja come onto the bench at some point. Just saving that space now. And it is going to be the evolve into 1 Regieleki. That's a lot of supporters in hand. That is the deck's worth of supporters, it looks like. We're just going to see a retreat for 3. And we're going to see a switching bolt for 60 because of the Regieleki VMAX. And into the Klefki. So it can actually have some effect here. Obviously, Greninja no longer being able to be used. Zacian, I can't imagine we'll see it played. So it is an ability lock now. And we're going to see another attachment to the same Rolts. Obviously, Rolts can retreat for free because of Beach Court in play. So it isn't really going to be a problem here. I imagine we're going to see a Curlier come down. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to the bench one. And we're going to see a rare candy straight into Gardevoir here. So Shining Arcana is in play now. We're going to see a ton of cards drawn here. Even without Greninja, we're going to see 4 new cards as well as whatever is in hand. I do see an Ultra Ball, so we could potentially see a EX searched out when they need it. So that's 2 cards from Shining Arcana. One is Judge, one is Psychic. Obviously, don't need to show those. But, maybe just Showboat in there. So the energy is going to go down to the Gardevoir. And then we've got, again, the Curlier to draw some cards here. And like we saw off the draw, there is a Judge that could be played. Potentially helping out the electric player here with the amount of supporters in hand. Obviously, with the amount of cards, you wouldn't know that. And it is going to be a Judge. Saving that Curlier for after the Judge, which I think makes a lot of sense. Gives you a few more draws and a few more outs to whatever your hand is. And I think we're going to see things, again, maybe go a little earlier in the Gardevoir's favour here. I do think in this matchup, I think Gardevoir is probably favoured. Obviously with the single prize attackers. Not really having to deal with the Gardevoir EX. That just sort of sits on the bench. No need to attack with it really. I mean, it can be bossed up, but at that point, it's only a couple of prizes. When I really like the Regieleki deck is into Lost Box. Stuff like that with the Klefkis. Obviously, a couple of Klefkis in play. And Escape Rope isn't getting around them. The only thing they can do is boss. Else they won't be using in the Lost Zone. But pretty much as much of the game as you need. Like I say, you can switch and bolt into the Klefki. With Regieleki VMAX, you can be one-shot in. I mean, you can be doing 120. So even the Cramorant without weakness. The Sableye. Just even, yeah, it's just such a powerful ability. Such a powerful attack with the Regieleki VMAX. We are going to see the knockout into the Klefki here. And it's going to be a Regieleki V pops up into the active. Now, it does also have a... Now, that isn't the only reason the Regieleki V is quite a good attacker. Now, obviously, it gets the bonus from the VMAX. But as well as Switching Bolt, it has Lightning Wall. Which does 100. Then reduces any damage it takes for 100. Which I think is probably the best way to deal with this matchup. Obviously, we can get to 160 if we can find another VMAX here. Taking knockouts into Gardevoirs and having no answer, honestly. They're basically 300 HP basic V Pokemon, so they're only worth 2 prizes. Very similar to the Gardevoir EX. But yeah, it's going to be so hard to deal with for the Gardevoir player. We do see a few Electro Generators here. So we could see the board flooded with energy. So we're going to see an attachment to Regieleki. I'm going to see an Electro Generator come down here for 2 energy. It's going to be 2 energy. So we, oh, a little slip there. We're going to see 2 energy go onto the Raichu, which I think makes sense. Another good secondary attacker. Just able to knock out stuff like the Gardevoir EX if it needs to. Can also knock out Gardevoirs. Has to discard energy. Not the best way of doing it. We're going to see another Electro Generator. Hopefully another energy for the Regieleki here. And we do see that attachment. I'd have probably liked to see them dumped onto the Regieleki first. That was a little risky there. There was a chance that that didn't work out. It did in this case. And I think 160 damage is going to knock out Gardevoir. Reduced by 100. This is going to be super hard to deal with. And that is the first prize on the electric player side. 1 apiece here. The only difference here is the Gardevoir player isn't as set up as last time. So it's going to be, I think this is going to be a deciding turn to see which way this one goes. We're going to need to see some Gardevoirs come into play. Some cards drawn. There is plenty of options on the Gardevoir side. But I think we need to see a Psychic Embrace here from the Gardevoir EX. We have obviously got Curlier and Greninja to draw before that. Can't quite see. I think it was a Worker again. Probably don't want to see that this turn. So they're just going to use the ability on Greninja instead. It does the same thing, but they threw away an energy. So I think that's what they meant to do anyway. And then we're going to get the ability from Curlier here to draw even more. Either a worker or a research on the far side of the hand there. So the Ultra Ball is coming down now. And we're going to see, I would assume Gardevoir EX come into play here. Unless there is a rare candy in hand. Okay, so we're going to see Shining Arcana Gardevoir instead. Obviously just holding off so they can use Curlier's ability first. And then the Shining Arcana. So this could be quite interesting. We are going to see, like I say, we've seen 2 cards. We're going to see potentially another 4. Maybe 3 more with Worker. It's just insane. That is 9 cards in a single turn. This could be very interesting from the side of the Gardevoir player. So we are going to see Curlier dump even more energy. You need an attachment this turn, so hopefully there's more energy in hand. So there is more energy. We have seen a lot hit the discard already. So we are going to see an energy recycler for that very reason. No Gardevoir EX in play. You're going to use Shining Arcana. You want a ton of energy in deck here. I think this makes a lot of sense. If you've got no way of getting into the Gardevoir EX, maybe one is actually prized. I think this is a sensible idea. Thin your deck out, shuffle back in some energy and try and get those Shining Arcanas off. Quick search through the discard pile here. And it's going to be a Shining Arcana here. Any energy? We are going to need 2 energy. I think maybe 1. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any there. There's 1 Gardevoir in the... can't see what the other cards are. I think it's just a Gardevoir. No Gardevoir EX. Oh, sorry, it's a Curlier. So there are actually no basic Pokemon to take here. So it's going to be a shuffle up. And it's going to be... I don't know what attack we're going to see here. All the options have been used on the side of the Gardevoir player. The only thing I could see would be the EX coming into the active via rare candy. But we've seen the energy shuffled back into the deck, so I don't think we're going to see that. And we are going to see a research here. So they are going to go searching for the EX. Maybe would have been worth keeping some of the energy in the discard if that's the case. Don't think we see much in hand. We are going to see a level ball here. Potentially get another Curlier in play, dig even deeper into this deck. But the deck is looking very thin now. And it is going to be the Curlier onto the benched damaged rolls. Curlier's ability going to be used here to get rid of the VIP pass to draw some extra cards. Final card. So we do see the Clara potentially for next turn. Grab some stuff back if anything is knocked out. So we're going to see an energy thrown away via concealed cards here. 2 extra cards into hand, which it looks like another energy. We are going to see a boss in hand, and it is going to bring up the Gardevoir. That is devastating for the Gardevoir player. I don't see many outs for them now. If they can keep streaming attacks into these Gardevoirs, taking knockouts before they can really get set up, it is going to be a nightmare for the Gardevoir player. Yeah, they are going to need something special. I think we're going to have to see... I think we're going to need to see both Gardevoirs come into play this turn, else I don't see any way back into this one. We're going to see Curlier for 2. Zacian's going to go to the discard. Like we said before, we did see Clara in hand, so they can go back, get the Gardevoirs, draw some more cards, potentially get a Curlier. Obviously, maybe not the best option here, as they need the rare candy. They need to evolve into both Gardevoirs. Otherwise, I think it is going to be a sweep for the electric player here. Does mean we get to see a game 3. Fingers crossed it's as close as these two have been. It's not over yet though, so it could still all be wrapped up here for the Gardevoir player. It's just looking very difficult to do so. From this board state, we are going to see the evolve onto the bench into Gardevoir EX. I'm not sure what else we're going to see here. So it looks like Gardevoir EX is going to start attacking here. Obviously not enough damage to knock out Regieleki. And Regieleki is going to get a... Okay, so we do see Clara here. I would imagine there's a rare candy in hand. Or they're just going to retreat it and evolve into Curlier. And the fact that they've not got Gardevoir means they are just going to be retreating this turn. Trying to hold out, trying to drop some damage. The problem here is they're already behind in prizes. They can't take a knockout into this Regieleki V. I think it's going to be a slow turn here. It's going to be a slow fight back from the Gardevoir player. And I can't see it happening. Let's see what they do here, though. There's definitely outs. There's definitely ways they could get attacking this turn. We're going to see energy from the discard come on to the Gardevoir EX, which is going to be another 40 damage dropped onto there. We're going to see Greninja for 2 here with concealed cards. Just remembering to shuffle up that deck from the search. Quick look through the discard pile here, just seeing what energy is in there, what Pokemon have been used. Quite a few energy in there, I think 3 or 4, and the Gardevoir obviously still in there. There still should be a couple in deck that we've not seen yet. Or, no, they weren't in the prizes because we did see them via the Heavy Ball. The Rolt's retreating here via the Beach Core, and we are going to see an attack from Gardevoir EX doing 190 damage. Minus the 100 from the Regieleki is going to be 90 damage from a big GX, a big EX. It's difficult. There was no other play there. There's no other way to put down damage. You just never want to see that. That's never the attacker you want to use. We are going to see a Serena on the opposite side, discarding 3 and drawing some more cards for the electric player here. Again, I think just searching for more energy to set up that Pokemon. Raichu can take a big knockout here. There is already 7 energy in play, which means that is 420 damage Raichu can potentially do here. I think once a knockout goes into the EX, that is game over. There is 1 more Gardevoir EX in deck. There's a few more Gardevoirs, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And I think we just saw Arven, again, one of the new cards. It lets you find an item and a tool, which are separate things now. Pokemon tools are separate to items. I think this is a card that's going to see a ton of play. I think we're going to see, I don't think it's going to be like a 4 of, it will be like a 1 of or a 2 of in some decks. But I think it's going to get more and more powerful. Since they've decided to divide items and tools, there's going to be a reason. There's going to be some interesting stuff that's brought out. And I think this is going to be a very important card. Obviously, searching out stuff like the Seal Stones, meaning you can pretty much grab any card you need, as well as an item card. You can find a Pokemon and literally anything. I think it's going to be a really powerful combo, and we're going to see that used in a few decks. In this case, we see the Rare Candy searched out, and we see Gardevoir EX straight onto the active. We're going to see an energy put down there. And again, it's going to get to... It's tough because you don't really want it to attack here. But then what else is going to attack? I don't see a Gardevoir in hand. I see no way of searching it. We are going to need to see more cards here, I think. And that deck is looking very thin on the Gardevoir side. A quick search through, we could potentially see something retrieved. I think we've already seen Clara. I think there might be a Miriam in deck. We are just going to see an Accelerate onto the Gardevoir EX again. It not only gets 3 energy out of play and leaves no energy on the side of the electric player, but it also means that we're going to see a knockout, but I don't think we are. I think it's just going to be a swing into the Raichu. We're going to see an attachment onto the Miraidon here, which will still get a knockout, but it's an interesting one. We're going to have to see that last Electro Generator. Don't see any way to get it in hand. Potentially Greninja could draw some more cards, but there is no energy. This game has been back and forth, and I think these decks are very evenly matched. It's going to be an interesting meta game for sure at the European International Championships. Obviously the first time we're going to see Scarlet and Violet in action. It's going to be the Ultra Ball here, just maybe to see what's in the deck. Grab out a Regieleki VMAX. That does mean it loses its bonus from the other VMAXs, but does mean whatever attacks is going to attack and knock out much, much easier. We're going to see a retreat here. We're going to see a retreat into the VMAX here, and we're going to see a swing into Gardevoir, just narrowly missing setting off that emergency jelly. So that was very close. Obviously very important in the math, and I think from this point with a Serena in hand, this is game over for the Gardevoir player. We're going to see what they play out here. There's always a way. We could see a judge. We could see a knockout. We could see anything here. Curlier drawing some cards here. Look like they found what they were looking for. Although I don't really know what you need in this case. You could potentially Gardevoir EX to attach more energy and move you into the jelly range. But it isn't going to be enough to save this Pokemon. Obviously, 220 damage from the Regieleki VMAX is going to be a ton of damage. We're going to see what happens here. Quick search through their discard, so we could see a Miriam or a Clara come into play here. Doesn't look like they found what they were looking for in the discard, so maybe there's a lot of energy in hand as well. I do see a Serena, which you could use to bring up the Raichu. But again, there's no follow-up play here. Yeah, I do think it's going to be Serena just to grab some prizes, but I think we're just then going to get the knockout with Regieleki VMAX. Serena does come down, and I would imagine we see Raichu here. And that is 2 prizes for Gardevoir. Regieleki VMAX is going to come back into the active, is going to take a knockout into Gardevoir EX, and we are going to Game 3 to see which deck is going to be crowned number 1 heading into this Scarlet and Violet format. Or at least for this match anyway. Let's get into Game 3. Now, you see in my face, you probably know what's happened. Game 3 is literally a donk. I feel awful. There was a big build-up. I think both games were very close, very interesting. Then Game 3, Gardevoir just couldn't get set up. It's one of the problems with these big clunky Stage 2 decks. And unfortunately, unceremoniously, it ends 2-1 to Regieleki. Let me know in the comments which decks you want to see next. But that's all I've got for this episode, so I will catch you in the next one.